Hello and welcome back everyone. This is an update on the previous Lightning Warp video, and I would say it's pretty much the final form for Lightning Warp. Since all the upgrades from now on, it's gonna be like hundreds of divines on upwards, like dream fragments and whatnot. So yeah, it's gonna be super goddamn expensive. And I am a freaking broke boy. And plus, I have reached level 95 recently.
I have two. Which one is a better roll?
Level up, let's go, 95. And been itching to like try some new builds and whatnot, so look forward to that. Alright, getting into the video. Let's break down why and how this works. First, we shoot out balls and we pop them, and it's called busting a nut. If you do want to see like my growth throughout the whole build, go and check out my previous video like this one. So the main changes for this build revolves around one question: how do we use Unleash support gem effectively? Since without Unleash, there's a cast time delay for each lightning warp unless you have very high cast speed. You need to manually pop each ball for damage, since holding down the mouse button will just auto attack the closest enemy with like lightning warp, which will do nothing while the balls are just flying away in the background. But with the Chad Unleash on Lightning Warp, there is no consideration for cast speed since it will teleport you almost instantaneously to the next ball or the next low health target. There is no need to manually pop each ball since I have a reaction time of a goddamn old man, and it will auto target any low health enemies, so you don't even have to cast like ball lightning or manually click through the mobs to just clear mobs sometimes. But putting Unleash on Ball Lightning is kinda necessary since I do need more balls to pop, since Lightning Warp cannot work by itself without Ball Lightning. And the cast speed for Ball Lightning is also quite long like compared to other skills, so you do have to stack like some cast speed. If only there was an item that allows me to use 2 support gems.
Who's that Pokemon?
Solus Ip's Grand Visage.
So basically, we bought the helmets with the Spirit Corrupt on it for a div since we don't have 60 Spirit Energy Shield on our body, which works perfectly, but we do need to respec some points for like other attributes as a downside of the unique, but it was so worth it. Just watch this. So these are my skills. For Skeleton Warrior, the only thing matters is the last grasp. The rest is just increase in damage and some debuffs. Like I have here, so I have last grasp, meat shield main, and arcane temple for like just stacking main. And next up we have Sigil of Power with persistence, magnified effects, and ingenuity to have like a bigger area. So even if we lightning warp, we still have the buff. Right, moving on, we have lightning warp on Overcharge, Inspiration, Unleash, Magnified Effect, and Considered Casting. And if you don't have the last slots, if you don't have a 6 link, you can always drop the very last skill for a much more affordable build, and you will still have damage. So the main thing is just to apply like Magnitude of Shock basically. And I'll explain why I put Magnified Effect on Lightning Warp and not on Eye of Winter, because I tried it and it really didn't work, and I'll explain later in the video in more details. And then next up we have Ball Lightning on Scatter Shots, Unleash, Acceleration, Arcane Tempo, and Wild Shots. Wild Shots you can change this out for the increased stun threshold, but I think Wild Shots is pretty decent if you don't need the stun threshold. And I have like pretty fast cast speed with like Lightning Ball, so I don't really need it. And Wild Shots can also like gives extra charge for cast on shock. Alright, moving on, we have Eye of Winter with Considered Casting, Inspiration, Lightning Exposure, Conduction, and Cold Exposure. And like I said, if you don't have the very last slot, you can always drop Cold Exposure, it just gives more damage. But this all just give more damage, more sustain, Lightning Exposure because we can apply 40% and we have more chance to shock. And finally, we have our cast on shock with like Lightning Conduct, Controlled Destruction. Impetus just gives us more energy, Elemental Focus, and Lightning Mastery. So apparently, Hourglass does not work with cast on shock. I mean, look at this without Hourglass. This one is 6963 with Hourglass. 6963. There's no increase, but it does work with the normal one. It just doesn't work with cast on shock apparently. And it also doesn't work with concentrated effect. 6963. And then we have Archmage on level 21, plus 1 level from Corruption, and Lightning Mastery to boost this up to 21 of a total of 9%. And we also have Clarity because we have the extra Spirit. But if you don't, you can always drop it. And next up we have Blasphemy on Temporal Chains, Conductivity, Heightened Curse, and Encumbrance, but you can always switch Conductivity with Enfeeble if you need more survivability, but I'm fine with doing more damage. Next up we have Conductivity, because on our weapon set 2 we do not have Blasphemy, so we do need this to apply so that we can still curse while we are doing Eye of Winter basically. And we have Cursed Ground, Expanse, Heightened Curse, and Focused Curse to just, you know, a bigger area. And the instance they spawn and can take damage, you can just spam our Eye of Winter to just instantly start doing damage. And lastly, we have Soul Offering with like the double buffs and the +1 to our minion skills, with persistence on it so that it gives us a bit more like wiggle room for like 7 seconds. And if we take this off, we only have 5 seconds, so yeah, it's best to have it for like the extra 2 seconds. And I would say like that you can also quality it for like an extra 1 more second, which is very valuable, I would say. And lastly, we have Grim Feast. Alright, moving on, we have our equipment. As you can see, normally I don't use my wand because I prioritize my rarity shield. But if you can do that if you don't have any rarity problems. So on our Rattling Scepter, I would highly recommend you to get 50% and above spirit with mana stacking and presence of area of effect, because normal area of effect does not affect presence. And you want to increase presence is because you want to increase your blasphemy radius. And then we also have our mana regen, which helps with our sustain and whatnot, which is pretty good. And then we'd have our helmets. I bought this for like a div with the Spirit Corrupt on it, which is pretty good, I would say. And then we got our Everlasting Gaze with Lightning Rod on it. It's pretty expensive, I know, but Lightning Rod does help with the damage, but you can anoint something else instead. And then we got our Double Breach Rings with like tier 12 and tier 13 mana with just some elemental resistance and, you know, some damage on it. And then we got our gloves, resistance basically, and max mana, resistance, movement speed, and max mana. And then we got our body with 55% spirit on it. I made this myself. If you want to get a decent energy shield body armor with spirit, it's gonna be very expensive, so I highly recommend make one yourself on the loot filter and whatnot. And I also have an ingenuity belt and 75%. And then we have our chiming staff with a +6 to all spells. You want a good decent chiming staff, so that you can have more damage on your Eye of Winter. Look. Yeah, you need more damage on your Eye of Winter to just apply more shock, basically. And that's that for mouse skills. Alright, let's move on to our passive tree. So a very basic Ascendancy tree, we get a constant Gale and Force of Will to just have constant Arcane Surge with double shock, and as well as plus 20% to all resistances. And then here we have like more extra mana regen going up here for energy shield, max mana, energy shield, shock magnitude. I mean, it's a pretty standard build, except maybe for weapon slot 1 we took all the area of effects, and as well as all the shock magnitude, like over here, and over here. And we also took weapon slot 1 for the Arcane Surge for just more mana regen. And then secondly, for weapon slot 2, we had Deadly Force. This just applies more damage. Over here too for trigger spells and recover mana for trigger spells, and for damage and penetration on like this one. And one thing I feel like a lot of people are not taking is the stun recovery, because this can help you a lot to not get stun locked basically, and it's very valuable, I would say. And I would say this is a pretty standard build with like Eldritch Battery and Mind Over Matter with CI, so yeah. If you want, you can just copy this build, and if you have any questions, you can just leave them down below. Alright, that's that for the build showcase, I would say. Leave a comment if you have any questions, and I'll try my best to answer them, okay? Moving on. There are some bugs that I found that will just fuck you up sometimes. Ball lightning will not cast in the direction that you are facing. You see that shit? The fuck? Bruh! Lightning Warp Shocked Ground can hide like ground AoEs like traps.
You're like a sand house.
Must sell.
Look at this color.
That's cold.
Oh, I almost fucking died. I'm on 1 fucking HO! I'm on 1 fucking HO! What the fuck?
Oh my god.
What the fuck killed me? Oh, the fucking traps, bro! Changing shock magnitude to weapon set 2 or shock magnitude stacking of Eye of Winter will instead cause the cast on shock to go into cooldown sometimes. Sometimes swapping weapons quickly will just despawn your minions on your Rattling Scepter.
You're just one-shotting on the...
Yeah, this build is supposed to do that. Alright, let's break down the pros and cons of this build. Pros. It's a mana stacker Archmage build. It has very high mana regen and cast speed from like passives and skill tree. Very high survivability since we have more than 15k effective health with like Grim Feast and mana. We have Blasphemy with Temporal Chains with Conductivity or Enfeeble if you want even more survivability. But Conductivity was enough for me. It has very effective AoE clear for like breaches and endgame maps, one skill spam after setup to just one-shot any boss in this game. So, conclusion, it's a build that can clear almost anything in this game. But, moving to the cons. Ball Lightning is very unstable as it can just pop like a bubble if it touches any terrain. Lightning Warp Shocked Ground can hide traps and ground AoEs. Needs high mana and energy shield stacking, which means very expensive gear like good breach rings or Spirit's energy shield bodies. Needs meta uniques like Dream Fragments and Ingenuity builds, which are also very expensive. Needs 60 spirits from body and helmets, which also very fucking expensive, and needs the unique helmet for using like 2 support gems, with like Spirit Corrupt for around a div for now. And lastly, it needs the whole setup to one-shot bosses. So if your skeleton despawns on you, you actually have to like interact with boss mechanics. Boo! I know, right? My god. Alright, conclusion. It's a very expensive build, but it can clear almost all content in this game. And personally, I also need like better gear to consistently clear tier 4 simulacrums, which is the hardest content in this game. Bonus content. Before I found this build, I did try some like spark shenanigans.
Moving of furniture and like hard cleaning work. So that was another one. One other that I was considering at the time was like I have a certificate in information technology, and I was considering going back, like going and using that in the IT world.
Mm-hmm.
And lastly, there was a period of time before all of this travel stuff where I was living with, I was boarding a house. The individual who owned that house was a disability support worker. So like I had seen what her work-life balance was like. And part of the reason why I moved into this was simply because and I looked at like pay rates for that career in different parts of the world.
Like someone might crash their car into a light post, and then someone
Uh-huh.
walks up, instead of saying, "Are you okay?" They're like, "You can't park there, mate."
I see, okay.
Yeah,
I mean, that is funny though, not gonna
There's
lie.
yeah.
Well, there's a lot of silly things that we do like that. Like shit. Do you know what a shoey is?
No.
Is it? Oh, this this is so stupid, but I think it's funny that we still do this. So like, we really like our cricket here. Like a lot of Aussies really like cricket.
Uh-huh.
And we're also a very big fan of beer. So there's this stupid thing that we do called a shoey, where we take off our shoe and we pour a can of beer into the shoe and drink from the shoe, and you like
Okay.
chug it really fast.
Oh, okay. I think I heard of it somewhere before. Shoey, okay. Isn't that like, don't you
it's
have like
so
a taste of
stupid, and
shoe
there's-
in there? Like, oh.
Yeah, that's
Yes,
kind of the point.
It's
Yeah.
dumb.
Bro,
So
like, do you still wear the
stupid, and
shoe
yet we still
afterwards,
do
or?
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There's tons of
In
videos of
fact, you
Australian
usually
people
put it
taking
on
off their shoe,
wet.
work boot, and then like
Oh.
Yeah.
pour a
Yes.
beer into the work boot. They drink the boot, and then they like put their shoes on and go back to work. Like,
Oh my
It's so
god.
stupid.
And we even came up with like a shitty Tempest Flurry Stormweaver, which didn't really work, but oh well. I know you're watching, so love you, bro. No homo. Look at this.
dude, okay.
But my mana regen is not keeping up though. Look at this.
I can't believe it works.
But now we have to like fix the damage and whatnot, but yeah. Oh no, there we go. Yeah, now we're actually shattering them, yeah. So let me know your thoughts below, and I'll see you guys next time. Alright, peace out.